All right, guys, welcome back to Two Guys in a Bard. Happy to have you all here. This is our weekly time to get together and discuss Ashes, especially now that we're going into a content drought. So welcome to Fane, welcome to Super, and special thanks and happy birthday to our fantastic guest this week, Xillin. He's
Thanks, man.
he's getting to be, up there in age. We're not sure if he's gonna die before Ashes even comes out or not.
Probably.
But
that's why I'm like pushing for him to get this Alpha 2 started, is because I might not make it. So yeah.
You guys gotta watch Xillin's YouTube because he makes money off that to support himself. But the Social Security goes right to the cosmetics.
The Social Security goes to the cosmetics. That's exactly right.
His YouTube income is going to pay his old folks home bills.
Yeah, well, that depends.
On
that was the joke.
It depends.
Oh man, we're not on your stream. We can't do your. Well, I guess we can't even call them dad puns anymore. They're grandpa jokes.
Getting up there.
The granddad jokes.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting I've been super busy with real life stuff and I've barely posted any YouTube videos, and I know a lot of other content creators are looking at it and trying to figure out what we're going to do for the next 2 months, right? Because Steven has said basically we're going into several months of them just breaking down code, trying to get everything fixed, everything back up and running, implement a bunch of new systems. They'll do all the testing QA wise before, so we probably have at least 2 months. What are you guys thinking? What are you going to be doing as content creators?
I mean, I think there's a lot of theory craft. I honestly do. So this is my thing, right? And I know that this has been said, and I've heard it from a bunch of the people that are like new to streaming Ashes of Creation. They're like, well, now that the Alpha 1's done, I'm done talking about Ashes of Creation. I'm like, the fuck you talking about? There's a bunch of us that have been here for like 8 months before Alpha 1 came out, just theory crafting about stuff, talking about stuff, spreading the word. I think that now, on a personal level, I will continue to do that, but now is a great time to take a step back and to really level up my content. So to tweak some of my skills on YouTube, maybe to start that TikTok we're famously talking about, because there is no actual information as well on TikTok. The OnlyFans is going to be going strong. I'm almost up to $1 million a month, guys. Almost. We're almost.
Yeah,
but
you're only $1 million short of that $1 million a month.
Listen, I know that if I charge $10 a month, I know you 3 guys will sub, and then so I'm just short of the rest. Chat, help me out here. OnlyFans. Wait, OnlyFans.com? Oh no, it's only. I can't say the actual.
Why would he assume that I would sub to that?
I know you would. Xillin. God damn it.
He's got a point.
Well, I'm just upset that there's not like a more expensive package where I could get more access. Like, I don't want the $10 package. I want the $100 package. You know what I'm saying? I want more access.
I always knew Xillin wanted more access. There's one thing I can say. Like, what do you think of Xillin as a content creator? I'm like, he wants more access, guys. I know
to Fane. I want specifically.
To Fane. I want the $10,000 package that has Fane's girlfriend deliver me a glass of wine next to me while I'm streaming. that comes with the $10,000.
You know what the joke here is? You think that only cost me $10,000? That's cost me so much more than $10,000 lifetime. Super.
That's too funny.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's a good time to definitely take a step back, focus on figuring out what you want to do, what your niche is going to be. There's definitely like some good theory crafting. I think the discussions they do every week on the forums and stuff like that can be good topics of conversation for content. And it's kind of that idea, right? That some people are looking for something to just like kind of hang out and listen to while they're working. And so you can provide a lot of great content by just do like the discussions that are already being had on the forums, on the Reddit and stuff like that, and bringing that to a video, a talking format. I think you can do that. I think a lot of people are going to be trying to find other games to play as well. I mean, a lot of us have talked about going into New World and all of that. And the question is, are you going to do content on other games?
Well, I don't know about the rest of you guys, but I'm going to be playing Raid Shadow Legends until Ashes comes out. I mean, I'm definitely going to be making content about it, and you know, it's my new passion. It's my love. You know,
Oh,
it's what I want to do from here on
Where
out
did
through
you
gaming.
where did you
Oh,
hear about Raid Shadow Legends? Like what content creator is the one that really got you into your new passion? I'm just curious. That's all.
So
every
it's
YouTube
actually
ad ever.
it's actually a small indie game. I didn't really hear about it from anybody in particular. I just
Oh,
kind of came
it's a
across
small
it.
indie game.
Can we talk about some bullshit here for a second? So, in the process of Xillin doing his little Raid Shadow Legends sponsorship, I googled Raid Shadow Legends, right? Because I was just like, I'm just curious, like how many characters there are on all this. They released a couple months ago a new character. I don't know if you call them characters, a new thing that you can collect randomly through these bullshit ass things. And you know what the character is called?
Zilla.
Fane. It's called Fane, and it's a fucking like mouse magician. I'm
Dude,
so upset
confirmed.
by this.
Did
I'm
you
suing the
copyright
shit
your
out of
name?
Fane sold out.
I
Fane
should.
sold out.
You should have.
I did.
It's
I
too
did.
late now.
Zillin's getting the referral bonus. I get money every time somebody unlocks the Fane character.
The Fane character. Okay, yeah, I clearly went about this the wrong way.
Yeah.
Oh man,
That's
let me
the
tell
wrong way to
you.
do it.
Zillin,
funny.
you're big on YouTube, but you got to get once your OnlyFans gets up, then you can start getting those kind of deals.
Okay, I got to get the
Careful.
Nah,
OnlyFans.
I said OnlyFans. Once you get your OnlyFans up.
So Bardic, I figured I'd jump in and answer your question. I did want to tell you before we got started, just for you guys, just for the three of you and for no one else, this glass that I'm drinking out of here, and I'm more classy than you guys, so I drink out of plastic cups, has alcohol in it. I went and made a drink with cranberry juice. Was the only mixer we had in the house, so that's what it is.
I didn't do the usual introduction because when I was talking to you super drunk 2 Wednesdays ago, I asked you, I was like, do you even drink at all? And you're like, no, not really. So I was like, oh, we'll just skip over that because we like to drink. Today, but
today I was like, I'm getting drunk with these guys, or drinking with them is more accurate. So before I answer your question about content, I do have a drink.
Well, yeah, cheers to you guys. We'll do the usual go around then. Cheers. I guess. What are we all drinking? We'll start with Xillin. You said cranberry and what?
Yeah, it's basically Crown and cran raspberry juice, which is the only juice, the only mixer I had in the house. And it's all right, whatever. It's got liquor in it, so you're getting drunk. So that's all that matters, right?
Highly suspect of this cocktail.
I like how the bartender's like cringing, like
I was a bartender for 10 years. Yeah. I did that
that's
for 10 years.
That's part of the reason I'm cringing so hard. So
I didn't have anything else, man.
You do what you gotta do.
Yeah, it was last minute. I said, you know what? I'm going to drink with these guys.
Right.
These guys invite me back on their show for a second time. I do the show with Fane, and me and Bardic are trying to work out some kind of something we can do collaboratively. Yeah. These are my boys. And as much as I like both of them, I like Super even more. So let me go get something to drink. And then I was like, we don't have anything to mix with this Crown. So I had to just.
I'd like to point out that Xillin's like to dislike ratio all follows with the beard length. So Fane, if you grow yours out, he'll actually like you more.
I would, but honestly, I got to keep it nice and aerodynamic because when I go visit Xillin at some point, when we're going to go out, I got to make sure that I can get that Crown and Cranberry right into my mouth real quick now. Yeah. That's the new drink, the Crown and Cran.
Bro, my head went somewhere totally different, and I'm pretty sure it's not Twitch safe, so we'll move on. We'll save it for the after show. But
save it for the after show.
Talk about aerodynamic and going to see Xillin, like, okay.
Look, what happens at our house is none of your damn business, Super. So you don't worry about that.
Listen, if Fane puts it on TikTok, it's fair game.
Or OnlyFans.
Or OnlyFans.
But moving right around, we know Super's back on dad duty. You just drinking the, what was that?
Un cerveza.
You can drink one? Is that what you said?
I have one beer.
Okay. Just drinking a beer. That's reasonable. Very reasonable.
That's reasonable.
And Fane, what are you drinking?
So I did this Cutwater. You guys remember last week we did a Cutwater? Oh no, last week I did beer. 2 weeks ago, I did that Cutwater Paloma. So I had them send me their margarita, and it's actually not that bad. I'm actually pretty happy with it. It's not as good as like an actual margarita, but for a canned cocktail, I'm about it. I'm into it.
So we had our Blues Fest here in town this weekend, and Cutwater sponsored it. They ran out of the Cutwater stuff in the first hour. And we like everyone was just like, wait, what? Like, why? How much product did you have? Like, it's an hour into the show.
I must have ordered the rest of it.
I heard it wasn't terrible, but I'm gonna bring you a can of each of our stuff, and also bringing you some stuff for our PAX West trip. But I'll see what your opinion is on that stuff. And then I am drinking a gin and tonic with what we have is called Purple Days Gin, the butterfly pea flower infused gin. So it's this kind of purpley stuff when you add lime juice. Man. Fucking hippie. What do you mean?
What are you talking about?
It's not a hippie thing at all.
Infusing fucking flowers into your booze. Jesus.
You know what gin is, right? Gin has it's all flowers almost.
Gin is vodka with a shit ton of flowers in it.
Yeah. It's like flowers, roots, and herbs. Like that's what it is. Like,
okay, I want to put a bunch of tiny little flowers in Super's beard and go to a convention.
Listen,
with him.
Superwife.
How much?
Superwife has been trying to get me to do those fucking Christmas bauble fucking ornament things. Like,
oh, if you don't do that, you're off the show. I assume that was implied.
If you do that, I'm never talking to you again.
I've never done it. She keeps trying. I say no every year.
So
dude, I literally
this December,
every time this year that I want to grow a beard specifically to put those in my beard, and that
we'll all do it. We'll all do it. Xillin, you're joining us.
It's for the after show.
It's for the after show.
All right, Ashes.
Yeah, Ashes. I was about to say what my plans were.
Okay.
As far as being the you talked about in this gap or whatever. I have the Voices of Vera interactive show that Tin Man and I are doing on Friday night. And a big part of my plan for content between, especially in this lull, is going to be cutting up that show and re-uploading it on YouTube so that there's actual content talking about Ashes with me and someone else having a discussion with it. Obviously, I have the Caravan Blitz show going on with Fane. And I am taking this opportunity, a lot like Fane said, to kind of level up my skills. I'm trying to learn how to cut up video and have it go along with what you're saying better, especially because all I've ever done is the unscripted style video where I just talk and there's a video playing in the background, because a video that relates specifically to exactly what I'm saying was not available, where now it is if you went and recorded that footage while you were playing Ashes over the last month. And one thing I will say is I did learn that I'm not good at that. I had so many different things. I'm like, oh, I needed footage of that. Oh, I needed footage of that. And so it's like I've got to learn how to take footage while I'm playing the game so that I have footage of all the different things, so that when I talk about them, I have footage of it. So, but I'm trying to learn. So I'm not putting out as much YouTube content right now, but it's about to start ramping back up. I also had issues with this microphone. I think I finally got it sounding decent again. I had hell with this microphone. Yeah, I know. That's the easy solution. And it's one I've thought about, but I'm just not there yet. But anyway, so that's the main thing is I'm trying to level up the skills, and then I got the Voices of Era and Caravan Blitz, and maybe me and Bardic will find some type of way we can collaborate on some type of content.
Just call it two guys.
Just two guys.
Two guys.
Just two
guys.
A bard and a guy.
Yeah.
Well, I will throw this out there, by the way, because Xillin mentioned it. I just want to get this in here real quick. Xillin, I watched Voices of Era. I thought that was an amazing show. And I know you and I had talked about it. You were referring to it as a podcast, and I was like, no, just based on what I'd heard, I'm like, you can't call it a podcast. It has to be a show, and it is a show. And you not branding it a podcast is so huge. Not only does it make it different, right? I think that if I listened to that show, I would have gotten a third of the enjoyment I got out of it watching it. I put it up. I wasn't in chat that much, but I put it up on our smart TV, and I made my girlfriend sit there and watch it. And she doesn't know anything about Ashes of Creation, and she was laughing so hard at so many of the bits, and that and explaining gaming things to her.
Right.
But she thought it was hilarious, and I did as well. I think it was just amazingly done. Really good
Thanks,
job,
man. I appreciate
shout out
it.
to you and 10 Men. Really good job.
Yeah, the big shout out is to Tin Man. It's really interesting how much of a collaborative effort this is. Where Tin Man is going to get, in my opinion, Tin Man is going to get a big portion of the lion's share, or the majority of the credit for what's going on, because he's the one that's sending me the video of him doing the silly nonsense and being stupid and you know, all of those things. And it's me on the other end. I'm the one that's cutting it all up and putting in the sound effects and making intros and making graphic effects and stuff like that. But that's not what people are going to focus in on. They're going to focus in on Tin Man and how funny he is. So it's really cool how it's really a 50-50 collaborative effort, but I do think that he's going to get a big boost for it. And I'm here for it. I can't wait for it.
But that's also the thing we've talked about, right? And like, we had 10 Man on the show 2 weeks ago. Was that? Yeah, that was 10 Man. And I talked very much with him. We talked with him and like, that's why we all get along, right? Like Xillin, when I first got to know you, we talked about the same thing. It was like, we all rise together, right? So even if he's getting the credit, the interest, you're going to get people who are, you know, he's going to refer people to you and all that. And this is not a zero-sum game. It's, you know, the better content we can do, period, the better we all rise up, you know? So I think, you know, that's fine in my opinion, even if he's getting, you know, the credit or getting the right now acknowledgement, he's going to understand everything you've put in and send people your way. And as long as you're still making good content, which I'm, you know, all four of us here, I think, make pretty good content when we're making content. I can't say I've made too much content recently, but yeah, I think all four of us are very well thought out, entertaining people. And we have different niches and different interests. Like as 10 Man was saying, like, some people do more, like I do more in-depth discussions, and 10 Man does more interesting, well, not interesting, but entertainment stuff.
Entertainment. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
The Fane, I appreciate the nice words, man. I really do.
No, I just had to say, I thought it was so well done. Full disclosure, guys, sponsored ad. He did show me a bit that 10 Man did before the show, and I was like, fuck, I have to be there. I have to be there because it was so funny. So I will tell you this. So it was about, we had recorded Caravan Blitz. You showed me that, and then I had to go do some real life stuff. You had to go get ready for the show. I was literally driving to the appointment that I had, and it just popped up in my head, like the guy in the pool, and I just started laughing in the car because it was so good. It was just, and it was honestly, it was like Chinese food. It was better the second time around.
Better the second time.
Day, you know what I'm saying? It was so funny. I think it was just, I thought it was just hilarious.
Well,
so
damn, guys, I haven't had a chance to watch it yet, but after that
glowing you haven't seen Voices of Vera, man?
Not yet, man.
It's you don't understand. This is Vera's premier late night TV show. You've got to watch it, man. No, it's a different thing. And for those in chat who might be wondering, it is every Friday night from 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock Central Time. And like Fane was saying, it's more than a podcast. And I made sure I said this during the show, but I'll just kind of reiterate it. This is not to knock those who have a podcast right now. Obviously, I'm on one, but we wanted to do something that was different, something that is outside of the box of 3 or 4 dudes or people sitting around talking about their opinions about Ashes of Creation. Me and 10 Man started doing bits and funny ideas and trying to make the show interactive instead of just talking. And so we just tried something a little different. So if that's something you're into, 7 to 9 Friday nights Central Time, and come by and hang out. It was a hell of a good time, and I can tell you this, Fane, the segment that you're talking about that was funny, the Channel 10 news, it's better this week. It's hilarious.
Is it?
Yes.
Okay, I need 10 Man. Slide into those DMs, dude. I feel like I need a preview for this because seeing it beforehand was funny, and then I laughed. So I laughed at it. I laughed at it when you showed it to me. I then laughed at it thinking about it that day, and then later that night it was even more. It just was funny because I knew it was coming, and just the answers and notes are bad, guys. Notes are bad. You hate to hear that. You absolutely hate to hear that. You know?
So is this on YouTube as well, or is it just on Twitch?
No, it's just on Twitch. It's a live show.
Okay.
We basically what we did was we took Ash's discussion content. So we talked about naval combat. We talked about tab versus action combat. We talked about several different aspects of Ashes of Creation, but we break that up with bits and interaction. We did a meme of the week where we found a meme and we let people rate how many Stevens out of 5 they give the meme and stuff like that. And I have a big fanfare that comes up on the screen once we figure out how many Stevens it's going to get, that sort of thing. So It's meant to just be interactive and funny and break up all the just pure Ashes discussion. So you should definitely check it out, man, when you get a chance, or go back and watch the VOD. It's still funny. My voice and the audio and video are out of sync, and it really makes me mad. But I don't know if I'm gonna. I don't know if there's something I can do about it.
I mean, editing you can, but it wouldn't be for on Twitch.
Right.
Good content, no matter what happens.
Yeah, and there's some truth in that.
Well, and I think that's the interesting thing, right? You have a lot of content creators complaining about how there's no content, right? And there's no gaming. Like, we're not going to be playing the game, but you can still make plenty of good content. As I said, like, this show is a little different from some podcasts. Like, we like to just goof off and chat about whatever and have fun. I think this is good content every week. And so you can do something. You just have to be creative about it. And I think that's something a lot of people don't realize, that being a content creator doesn't mean just log on to Twitch and stream and you suddenly grow and you're working and making money. It's like, no, you have to put effort and thought and work into what you're doing, find the right people with the right dynamics for if you're going to do a show, things like that. It's not just like any random person and suddenly we have a success.
Well, what's interesting about the Ashes category is that, and I think what you're saying is going to be true during this next lull, because we're not on the back end of a hype train, we're not on the front end of a hype train. And so the people who have, I'm not going to call people out by name, honestly, most of them have stopped streaming at this point, but the Ashes category has not followed that trend of how you describe it. The Ashes category has allowed people to get immediate success, because for a day one, week one, first time streamer to be streaming to 20 to 50 people, roughly somewhere in between there, that's not normal. That is so far outside of the realm of normal for what happens on Twitch, that I think for some people it goes to their head. And so then they're like, oh my gosh, 20 people, I got my sub button, like my second week, like I can really like go at this and make it a thing. And then the numbers reflect what was actually going on. And then you see them sitting there with one or two people, and it's themselves and like a spouse or something like. And so once we get back to what the numbers will be reflecting, and I think that we will, like I said, I think that we will see that through this next lull. Then it's going to be people having to actually find a way, which all three of you guys have already done, actually find a way to find content when there is no content, and it being actual gameplay content.
This is the time to band together as a community too, right? And do content together, because then it's not all on you, right? You can bounce ideas off of each other, be entertaining together to draw people in and actually make entertaining content, and build each other up, rather than like, if you're just going to sit there on Twitch and read over the wiki for the next 2 months, you're not going to get a huge amount of viewers, right? You might get some if you're like a pretty entertaining guy with, some thought out discussion, but it's actually like finding or creating content and working with others. I think is the best way to do that without it being boring.
Yeah. Well, and I think that the big thing that we're seeing too is kind of like what Super said. These people showed up. They spent their $500. They showed up, and boom. I was running 28 average viewers. I'm a third the way to partner right off the bat. And I've got 400 followers, and I'm going to get there, guys. The Ashes is my thing. And they're falling off, and they're saying, well, there's not enough content, so I'm going to blame the game. Not blame themselves for not creating interesting content, not blame themselves for not putting themselves in a position to be that interesting and to have that kind of stuff. And I think that right now we are kind of, and this is a sexist term, so I apologize to all the women in the chat, which is usually super wife. This is the time that we separate the men from the boys. The people that, and by that I mean the people that are actually here for Ashes of Creation, and the people that are here for Ashes of Creation, and then they'll jump to New World, and then they'll jump to the Valorant MMO, and then to Palia, and to whatever games come out. They're there to, there are streamers I know. There's a website out there called Twitch Strike. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this website, but it will go in and it will show the viewership of a game versus and how that's kind of spread out. And you can go on there and it'll show you these are the best games to be streaming right now, because these are the categories you should stream in for growth. And there are people that will literally jump around into these categories. And I'm sorry, But if I jumped into Apex Legends, which also is never there, guys, don't worry about it. But if I jumped into Apex Legends tomorrow and started streaming it, I wouldn't know what the hell I'm doing. I wouldn't have the viewership. It wouldn't do any of these things. I mean, I can go on right now, and this is the kind of people that they go on Twitch Strike. And Ashes of Creation, by the way, guys, was on here for the entirety of the
Sure, it was
of the thing. It was up here. So right now, Sports, Chest, ASMR, and Road 96 are the 4 best games to be streaming right now, based on what percentage of the
what were they? I'm
the top
gonna switch the category we're streaming in. Which one?
we're streaming into? Yeah,
exactly. No,
exactly. Just chatting.
Yeah, and it's
That's too funny.
And it you know, we're now at this point where we're seeing the hardcore Ashes people are still here. They're still making content, right?
The fair weather fans are falling off. I mean,
Thank God.
I mean, it literally happens in every industry. It happens with every type of hobby, every type of industry, whether it's money's related or not. Is you have people that are like, yo, the bandwagoners. They're like, yo, Ashes is popping. Let me jump in and get on this. And the difference is some people will see that because arguably, I mean, I know Fane's been around a lot longer, but Bard and Xillin, you guys jumped in. You saw the bandwagon move and you're like, yo, I want to be a part of that. But then when you got there, you're like, yo, I understand this bandwagon. And now you're fans. Like, and so it wasn't like, oh, I've been here day one. It was,
yeah. Well, Xillin and
I see a lot of movement here. And I'm not like discrediting you guys. There's a difference between somebody who's just hops on and is like, okay, that was fun, and then leaves and then goes to look for the next bandwagon. You guys are here. So like there's a difference there. So
well, Xillin and I both did something interesting, and I started a little sooner than Xillin did, but like I got super involved with the community, got like really interested after the Lazy Peon video. And I didn't actually stream or do any like content for like 2 or 3 months. I was just like, you know, getting my bearing of the game, understanding the community. I was in like every single Twitch, stream, hanging out, like listening to people, seeing what the content was being done, what content creators were doing, you know, getting my hands on every single aspect of the game. And then I was like, I'm going to start streaming and I'm going to start doing this because this is something I'm very passionate about. And so that's the difference too, right? Because I saw a bunch of people jump on the hype train and I'd hop in their channel and ask them a few basic questions about the game and they'd have no fucking idea. And you'd be like, what?
I think I told Xillin this, and this was an experiment I did, and I've got it recorded for YouTube. And I'm editing it together when I've got, you know, a couple hours free in one of my days. I went in week 2 of Ashes of Creation. I went in to any channel that wasn't a partnered streamer. I didn't want to do it. It's not a good look, right? Any channel that was not a partner, I went into their channel. I would type into chat a question that requires a little bit more than basic knowledge of Ashes of Creation. If they answered that question without going to the wiki to look it up themselves, and they answered it correctly, I dropped them a sub. I'm going to tell you guys something. It was a very cheap YouTube video to make. I think I only subbed, I think out of 20 people, I subbed to 2 or 3, right? Just 2 or 3 people. There's a lot of people here that just don't know. And I'm not discrediting them. I'm not saying that they're worse. I'm not gatekeeping the information. I'm not saying that, oh, you guys are bad people for not knowing this information. All I'm saying is there's a lot of people out there, and my fear is they're spreading a lot of misinformation about Ashes of Creation. And I think that's
well, that's also just going to happen though too, right? I mean, there's going to be people that come in, and I mean, I've even heard. I mean, we all know how hype Asmon is about it, how much attention he's gotten from Steven. But there's been plenty of things that he has said on a regular, recurring basis that is factually inaccurate about the game. And his chat, like if it's in a video where his chat is being shown, there's actually like multiple people in chat saying, no, that's wrong. It's this, it's this, it's this. And if he catches it, he corrects himself. But there's plenty that he doesn't know. So, and I know you're not, again, I know you're not coming from the standpoint of like, oh, you don't know, you don't get to play.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's entertaining content for sure. Like
playing this game back at Fame, we're going to ask you a question, see if you can answer it.
Swear to God, if the word monster token comes out of anyone's mouth.
Oh no, I was going to ask an even better question. What is Margaret's favorite mount?
I know the answer to this one.
I know the answer.
That's not even difficult.
Okay, I know the answer. I'm going to say that I know the answer, but because I don't want Bardic Chillin to be banned, will not spew forth the vile name. It's sort of like if you're listen, we're all here, we're all living in America, right? We're living in America. But if we were at fucking Hogwarts, I wouldn't say Voldemort. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just wouldn't. You don't say the bad name.
You don't speak it into existence.
You don't speak it into it. You just hope that it goes away one day.
It's not real. It's not real. Sorry, Margaret. It's not real. It doesn't exist. We won't say it.
Yeah. Sorry, Margaret, I love you. But no.
But that word does not have a tracer associated with it. For those Harry Potter fans out there,
that's true.
There's actually nothing bad that happens. Unlike when you say Voldemort's name, something bad actually happens.
Listen, if there's some Horcruxes we need to go destroy, just point them the fuck out to me. If we can make sure that this thing never makes it to the game, I will destroy all of them.
Oh wait, you didn't already see the in-game model?
No, I did. That it needed to burn even further.
I will say I don't like. So we can go back to this. I don't have a picture of it. But the in-game model of the Snorse, I did not like the saddle. The saddle was like this weird thing of like all these like bones and like weird sticks put together.
It felt weird, right?
It felt weird. I don't like that. I'm kind of upset.
Outside of the meme, it doesn't look. I would not be proud.
Well,
I would not be down. I'd rather ride the Brew Bear. I'd rather ride my Brew Bear.
I mean, who wouldn't want to ride a Brew Bear? Here's my thing with it. Tell me your opinions. I think it looks fine. I think it looked really good, especially if you remember that they're going to add in a bunch of glowy SFX, right? Or visual FX, whatever you want to call it. So as long as you add in those glowies in the right places where it does look weird, I think everything is fine. But the concept art has this really elegant, like kind of simplified saddle. And then this saddle is like this weird big contraption of like sticks put together. And I know it is a Nakua thing and all that.
So I'll say this. This was the first one. So getting my meme hate of the Snorse out of here. I will say that this is the first time I've seen the in-game model of the mount and thought that it looks substantially worse than the concept art.
Yeah.
Every other one I see the concept art. Like there were a couple that I passed. So the turtle, the timeless terrapin, the turtle with the big mushroom out of its back. I was like, okay, that's not really my thing. I think I'll just pass on that one. I saw it in game and I was like, shit, I'm mad that I passed on that one. I really wish I had gotten that one. Snorse? No, I don't even care. I'm happy. I'm even happier now. Doubling down. Sorry, Margaret, you're wrong. Might be your favorite, but you're wrong.
Well, as I said, I'll reserve judgment for the final product. I will say I agree with you there. I think they can do a better job. And, you guys are out there listening, please go back and do iterations because I want it to be my favorite mount so I can taunt Fane every single day. So it's just
hey, that's just content for me. You guys already know my plan. Fane.
So you guys know that Margaret's favorite mount is the fox, right?
No, it's the Snorse. She said
I was in chat with her and she was going crazy about the fox.
She likes the fox.
So
the Snorse is her favorite.
There's two mounts. To my memory, there are two mounts that I have heard her say are one of her favorites. And it's been the Snorse and the fox.
Because I heard, she said it was her favorite or one of her favorites. I was watching Roar. I was watching Roar's stream. And she came in and he was writing her out and she was just going on and on about how she designed it and she loves it so much and it's her favorite one or whatever. So when you guys were saying that what's Margaret's favorite mount and then all of you started talking about don't mention the name, I'm like the Firefox thingy? Why not? I don't understand what the deal is.
So the Snorse mount comes from her interview with or her show on what it was that Pathfinders, Merg's podcast, and she just like basically goes off on how she likes really unique things, like things that haven't been done before, which I've said that so many times. Just saying, I agree with you, Margaret. You're awesome. But yeah, she basically said that, and then she referenced the Snorse because the Snorse got so much hate. Like that's so cool to me. Like that's way cooler than your standard like whatever boring ass mount.
I'd rather just have this white stallion with the armor on it than the Snorse personally.
Yeah. Well, but there's a ton of people in Virtue who are just waiting for a good basic armor set. Like give us a good like fighter, barbarian type looking thing. Like give us that medieval look. Like we haven't had that in like literally a year. Like it either it gets close and then it has like too much like nature shit on it.
I will say that enough with the nature shit. We have had so many nature like cosmetic packs.
Like we've had the Edgelord stuff. I understand bringing that back to like revisit it. That's going to get a lot of people in. Cool, whatever.
Well,
a lot of people
in
like
October.
That. Yeah, I like it. Yeah, October. It's probably going to hit. But I mean, let's get to the basics here. Let's get just a nice basic, not elven. Not make it just a kind of a regular human, just beefy fucking warrior thing with a badass like battle horse or even like another rhino or something like that. Like it's just people love that. Like all this extra. Like we're the whole thing about like the basic bitch with Starbucks and the Uggs and like or, the basic white girl. Like it has gotten so basic that it has become now ridiculous. Like I feel like we're adding too much flair into all of this. Just take us back to basics, please.
Well, and I think, but if you look at the things in the past, right? I think that they have shifted, and I think that the shift that they're making is actually to make things in the world more immersive. Because if you look at like what was that Superman ice thing, his Fortress of Solitude, right? There's literally a freehold that looks like Superman's Fortress of Solitude. It's all ice. And people were saying right off the bat when they saw it, if I'm in a desert, can I place this down? And is that going to be super immersion breaking? And so I think they're looking for stuff that is going to not be as immersion breaking throughout the world. So that I can't put the Hobbit hole from this month, I can't put that in the middle of a snowy bank because it's not really going to fit in. There's no way that all this is growing in this one little spot.
Right? Well, and they are already gatekeeping, like certain skins can only go in certain areas, correct?
We don't know anything about the freehold skins. We literally have zero information. And that's
so many
a little
people
bit
complain about that.
Yeah, there's a lot of complaints, and that's a little unfortunate. I would hope they will get more on top of that so we understand what's going on there. But they have said, at least for mounts, like you need the proper thing to apply it to. Same thing with on top, like skins on top. You cannot apply a plate armor set to a bunch of cloth robes that you're actually wearing. So I would guess that it might be something similar for freeholds, but I don't know because freeholds are not something easily changed, unlike the other stuff.
And so maybe, you need an ice freehold, and you can only put an ice freehold down in an ice area, and you can only apply this cosmetic to that specific freehold. That is a distinct possibility, and I hope they do that because I think immersion is such an important part in games. I think going around, checking things out, just being in an area and it feeling like that area. Wolfhard FPS tweeted out today, Xillin. So when I say tweet, that means Twitter. So Wolfhard
What's
FPS,
that?
Exactly. He tweeted out that was both a you don't have a Twitter joke and your old joke.
It's like updating your MySpace. Don't worry about it. It's basically.
So you remember?
Oh, I did that earlier today. Okay, I got you. I feel you. Okay.
Remember,
what song do you have playing now?
You remember?
Am I in your top 10?
There was a little bit of a smoke signal you could get before the wind would blow it all all away. It's that same thing. Very short messages. Very short messages.
Okay.
So Wolfhard tweeted out, you guys know on the northern continent, I love that Super's just eating this up. On the northern continent, there was a spot with there were a lot of pirates around there, and it was kind of tropical, and there was some water and right caravan. He said, this was my favorite place. This was my favorite place during Alpha 1.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine having like a frozen place right in the middle of that. It would absolutely ruin that.
Yes.
It would ruin that. And I've said, and I see how they do it. They put a river and then you cross from one side to the other and there's a general degradation. But moving from one zone to another in Alpha 1 already felt seamless. I didn't feel like I'm transported. This is the fire zone. This is the ice zone. This is the deep forest zone. It didn't feel that way. And so to allow these things to break up would be really bad. And I'm going to come back to something Bard said earlier. You're talking about the effects. within the mounts and stuff. What do you guys think about the amount of bioluminescence that they use? Is it too much? Is everything too flashy? Is this going to look like 2021 Guild Wars where everyone is flashy in every possible way?
I really hope it's not, because for me that like just screams like JRPG MMO RPG. Like it's just it's going a little bit too weebish just for my personal taste. I mean, it's one of the reasons why I have zero interest in Final Fantasy. There's too much flash. There's too much, even BDO. I mean, it's too much. Like, give us something again. It's a take us back to basics kind of a thing. Like, give us something good. At least baseline it there, and then if people want more, ease me into it. Don't just drop it on me.
So the question is, what do you mean by all the bioluminescence? Because there's not that much.
There's a decent amount when you go look at like some of the, not only the environments, right? All of the underworld is fucking bioluminescence.
Yes,
that makes sense.
Well, this is the point I want to bring up. You have to realize they are developing everything in this small space for this massive world, and you're looking at 100 square kilometers of underworld, which is going to be bioluminescence. That, like, there's no way around that. That's just the way the underworld has evolved, and it makes sense from when you're looking at the underworld why there would be a lot of bioluminescence. It just makes sense. So if you extrapolate what they have produced so far and the amount of animation and models they have for that fits into the 100 square kilometers of the underworld. Like, that's what they're building, in my opinion.
But a lot of the mounts, if you've looked at the mounts in the past, like literally spend one day, just go through mounts and all the mount skins. There's a ton of bioluminescence on a lot of the mounts.
Well, I think it goes both. Yeah, I think it's both. Like, I think you're getting that because a lot of the mounts do come from the underworld, right? So when you're looking at 480 square kilometers of the entire map, 100 square kilometers of the underworld, literally like basically roughly a fourth to a fifth of the world is underworld, and that's where a lot of people survived. So I think when you're looking at the lore and the animals and like the things you would have tamed, if you're looking at lore reasons for it, it kind of all lines up in my mind.
I'm not saying that it doesn't line up. I guess my question is it too much? I'm not saying from a lore standpoint, right? Because even if you can lore off every single thing, which clearly they can do because a magical wizard made a teddy bear come back to life and become a fucking mount, which we'll get into that. That's a whole different topic. But when everybody is riding around on some magical bioluminescent mount that has little trails coming off of it or fire effects coming off of it, is that going to look like too much? Is it going to look like Super said, a JRPG where it's just a matter of what? And then when what effect do you have? And then when you add in the, all these different abilities and they all have bioluminescence, and even your basic melee attack has big sparks and flying around it.
I guess the difference is bioluminescence shouldn't really trail, right? There's a spell FX and then there's like bioluminescence, which just glows.
I think the conversation kind of shifted from directly bioluminescence to bioluminescence as it's being defined, in addition to all of the other VFX going on.
Exactly, because there's going to be a ton of VFX.
VFX as a whole, and then adding the bioluminescence. Because I think we can all agree that bioluminescence, especially around the Underrealm, it makes sense. Like that, it's logical for it to be there. It follows lore. Good to go. Not a hard sell there. But when it's that on top of like, and I would like to state that as it is right now, and even though all the VFX stuff is not added in, I don't think what they have right now is too much. I think they could even push it a little bit further and it'd be fine. So right, to answer your question directly, I think it's okay. But again, if it gets to that point where it's like, it's just swirling blades all over the place and just, summoning giant sun ball from the heavens and, just all of this crazy stuff going on. It's for me personally, it distances me from my immersion within the game, because from what we've seen of the world so far is that and I don't mean this in a bad way, it's plain, it's simple, it's gorgeous in its simplicity, and then you start adding all of this other stuff in and it just breaks from that. And so it disassociates your character from the environment, which disassociates you from the game.
See, I disagree with almost every word you just said.
Finally, someone that's not me disagreeing with Super. I love
literally
it.
Every word you just said. Like, yes, the VFX right now are too much. When you get in a siege, and even when the siege is like 50 versus 50, we're not even talking about the 250 versus 250 they want, or the 500 versus 500, that's like a stretch goal or whatever. You can't see shit. Like, if you're a tank and you go try to run through the gates, there's fucking bombs and explosions and magic shit everywhere. You can't see a fucking thing. Like, it's way too much. Way too much.
Well, but we're also not playing a medieval simulator, right? Like,
I agree with that.
It's not just swords and shields.
That's why I agree with the last half of your sentence, because you're saying it takes you out of the world. No, it puts you in the world, because it's a magic world. It's not a medieval simulator. It's a magic world. And the whole point is that we came back to Vera and there's magic here now. Like, I hate the fact that my tank and my fighter are going to use mana as a resource pool. To me, I'm like, that doesn't make any sense.
But I think that's temporary right now.
From what I understand from the lore, that's what it's going to be.
That it is mana. It's not like
it is mana, because we all have magic
or something.
We're not going to make it like stamina.
I'm pretty sure Steven has straight up said that every class will use mana.
Will use mana.
And I think there's a lore reason for it. Yeah, I think that's
the lore, because when we came back from Sanctus to Vera, there's magic there now. There either wasn't magic there before, or we didn't know about it. It had forgotten over the thousands of years we've been gone or whatever. And so there's magic there. So now everybody's using magic. So from a lore perspective and from an immersion perspective, all the effects and the particles and the shit blowing up everywhere, all that ridiculousness is lore friendly. That is what it would actually look like. The problem is, when me as a tank, I'm trying to run through the gate and find somebody to target, to pull through the gate or to jump in and attack or whatever, but I literally can't see any fucking thing but particles flying all over my screen. Maybe we need to dial it back a little bit. Like, I stopped doing sieges because they're not fun, just having explosions happening around me all the time. I couldn't tell what was going on at any point.
Yeah, and I will. The two things I do want to say is, like, part of the lore, as brought up, was Steven said in the last dev video, but sprinting is going to be in regards to mana. So sprinting will use mana when you're out of combat. And that goes back to that lore reason, right? The reason we have these like crazy powerful abilities, the ability to like block a swipe from a massive dragon, all has to do with the mana, right? Magic and mana.
Did he say that it was going to be mana?
Yes, he said mana.
Or did he make a reference that it was going to be like the mana bar?
No, he said mana.
It's mana.
He said specifically mana.
It's going to be
which, and as I said,
for example, when you're sprinting, like right now we can just sprint infinitely. But what's going to happen is that is going to take a percentage of your mana bar, and they're even going to do it smart ways. So because like, a mage will have a way bigger mana bar than a tank. So it's like, well then, okay, now the mage has way more sprint than a tank. That doesn't make any sense. It's going to be a percentage based on your total amount of mana that you're getting, that's getting spent, so that it evens out no matter how much mana you have. So even sprinting is going to use up your mana.
Which is a good design. I mean, design, right?
It's kind of like in an action RPG, right? So you have to be aware of what you're sprinting into. If you just sprint into the unknown and you end up doing a fight without any stamina, you can't block, you can't dodge, you can't like sprint out of an ability, you just die. And back when New World had stamina, like you actually had to sprint with stamina, I ran into that issue. I'd like be running down a path and then run into a fight, be like, oh fuck, I have no stamina. And I kind of like that. I kind of like the fact that he's the route they're going with that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, if they're not going to have like the traditional action kind of block stamina, or at least the way that we see it within New World. I mean, again, I don't have a problem with them using it in mana. I just interpreted what he said differently. But if he said that it was going to be mana, no, I think it makes sense based off of the system that they're going with. And I think it does provide that situation that Bart's talking about, where it's like, okay, I've been, essentially dumping my mana, especially if the mana regen rate is what it is now. If it's anything similar to what it is now when it goes live, you're not going to want to run anywhere, because you could possibly have people come out of a bush at any time.
Well, it makes positioning matter a lot more.
Yeah.
And then it might be worth burning some mana to reposition. But he also said that was out of combat. I would like to see
Yes.
that be the case in combat, because then that makes,
Well, I think in combat, it's usually going to be abilities at that point, like blink or dash or some kind of
is
charge
every
to
class going to have
location.
that though? Like,
Well, no, but that's also going to be some of the pros and cons
mhm,
of class balance as well too, right?
yeah,
Like mages are
Mhm.
going to be
you know,
easier to kill,
and
but they can get away a little bit better.
and obviously, I do think like what he said is still open. Like, it's open development, right? If we get
Oh,
in and we're like,
100%. Yeah.
this is awful, everyone's like, no, we don't want this. Or everyone's saying, like, we need to be able to sprint in combat. It's just too slow. Not enough classes have a blink. Being able to burn some mana to sprint in combat, like, maybe it's double the percentage of your mana being taken away because you're in combat. I think they're open to changing that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't even think it's an I think that it is, they 100% are, and I think
Yeah.
that combat change showed that. Um,
Mhm.
I actually, just out of a personal curiosity, I know we've talked about what our like and dislike of the root versus no root and all of that. I'm not trying to get back into the preference side of it,
Mhm.
but what have you guys seen as the community response to that? Have the devs come out and said anything saying, "Hey, we saw an overwhelming overwhelming support for one versus the other"? I haven't been hip to a lot of the Ashes stuff recently, but I'm curious if you guys have seen anything that has them leaning one way or the other. And if not, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, please tell us. Uh,
Um, I yeah. I think they're pretty much just going to go down the no root thing. That's my own personal feeling. I don't think they've ever said anything, at least recently. Maybe we'll get something in about a week here, week and a half with the dev stream, is my
Yeah.
guess. It could be. I mean, that would be a good forum discussion as well, right? I think that would be a good one.
Yeah.
You've had a chance to try it. Tell us what you think. What's the overall response? My overall response, like everyone I talked to, is like, yeah, no root is way better.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was way better for action combat. I thought it sucked for tab combat, but that's because I don't like the light attack. I don't think I think that the style of light attack that they have does not go with tab combat. And so it just doesn't feel very good. Having to hold down Q while you're trying to move around and maneuver is weird, and just doesn't work. But when you were in the action combat mode, the root motion, or not the root motion, but the split combat was way better. It was so much, but you could feel like you knew you could control your character again.
oh, it
And
was the first time that I opted into action combat and
me
stayed
too.
in it. And I say opted in because in previous sieges, some of them were bugged to where we had to be in action. And so
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is the first time that I voluntarily opted into action combat and loved
and
it.
stayed in it. I did the exact same thing for me. I played it in action combat the whole time. I hated it in tab, and it's gotten me. I'm moving more and more and more rapidly towards Superville, where I'm like, I do not care if it's tab or action. Just fucking pick one, drop the other, and start working on the one. I don't care anymore.
Yeah.
That's so I yeah I'm about to become mayor of Superville.
I'm right there with you. Pick one, and obviously I'm leaning towards tab. But honestly, it wouldn't matter one way or another. I'm just worried about the amount of time and the ability to get it to feel right with this weird hybrid. Not really weird, just with the hybrid system. I'm a little weird, or it is. Yeah, I don't know. It's different from what we're used to, right? And I think it just takes so much time and effort to get any system right that, like, I don't know if that's going to double, or even, like, because they're interconnected, triple the amount of time and effort to get it to feel right. Yeah, yeah.
I mean, for me, it purely comes down to it's the jack of all trades, master of none, or
Mhm.
master of one. So it's that idea. And also, from kind of taking from that, is that in a game as in depth and as many breakpoints as there are for balancing within Ashes of Creation, they're literally creating multiple breakpoints within the combat system rather than just baselining everybody at the same thing. Because not only now do you have to take into consideration the class, you have to take and the build and all the gear that they're wearing and all the other things that you have to normally do with any kind of character class balancing. You now have to keep in mind, okay, bonuses for critical hits, bonuses for hitting them in the back versus hitting them in the front, like anything like that. You are now adding another level. And where if they were to just pick one or the other, that's fine. That's cool. Everybody's baselined there. But now we're going to have this constant struggle, and it will be constant because all balancing always is. But in my head, this is going to be even further more of a constant and more annoying. Is we're going to have basically this flavor of the month tab versus action,
Well,
more so than just a flavor of the month of mage, ice or frost augment versus teleport augment. Like we have another flavor of the month that we have to worry about now.
and that's my issue, and I've said this before, but I am worried about the barrier to entry with this hybrid
Yeah.
style. It's even more that you need to figure out. It's even more complicated. One system or the other is always going to rise to the top for certain builds, right? That's the meta is going to form. People are going to be like, playing a 70% tab for this build is just better. So they're trying to be like, oh, we're going to accommodate everyone. But suddenly when you have to you're not really accommodating everyone because once you get to that end game, you're not going to want to just play your there's a niche players that will be like, I'm going to come up with my own builds. And then there are the players that the content creators who play every single hour of the day and they actually theory craft and come up with the best builds. And then there are people who are like, I'm going to be the meta breaker. I'm going to play the meta breaker. But you're just adding in another level of complexity to this game that, I think might turn people away at a certain point. They'll start playing, they'll get familiar with the style they're used to playing, and then they'll get to endgame and everyone will be like, no, you can't play that. That's shit.
So here's a hot take, and this is I'm seeing where this could potentially lead into an additional question, but to me there is a thing as too much player agency. There really is, and I think when it comes to a game.
Yeah.
So I think that, and again, it goes back to if we kind of baseline somewhere. I think Ashes is planning on having a lot of good player agency, a lot of play the game that you want the way that you want to. But to Bard's point, I think that for the barrier to entry side, it's because the argument there is, well, if you have all of these different ways that you can play, then the barrier to entry is low. You can choose how you want to play. But in my reality, in the way that I see that play out, is that the community decides what that barrier to entry is. And if the community is saying, no, you play this class and this build in action combat, and that's it. If you played in tab, you're throwing, then by force of peer pressure and meta pressure, people are going to have to play it a certain way. And so, I mean, that was more directed to your point. And then kind of the overarching question to you guys is, do you guys think that there's potentially too much player agency?
Well, and we talked about this last stream, right? Where we basically said Ashes doesn't need to get everything right. They need to do everything pretty well and get their core systems get their core systems like the node system right. They need to get a few systems and focus on those. So the node system, the way the world develops around you, building up and tearing down nodes, changing the world, that's what they need to get right. As long as combat is decent, they're going to be fine. I think it's better for the systems that aren't necessarily going to make or break the style of game to go with easy to learn or simple to learn and hard to master. And I think when you're going into too much player agency, you're going the opposite direction of that. It's hard to learn and hard to master.
Which I think is fine, honestly. I've always said, and I've said this for over a year now. If you're going to go tab in action and you're going to have kind of a choice between the two, if I tab target super and throw a fireball at him, I should do 100 damage. And if I'm in action and I need to aim and lead that a little bit and do all that, I should do 350 damage to him. And that way, the fact that I'm going to miss a good percentage of the time forces me to choose. Am I good at the skill shot? If I'm good at the skill shot, great. I'm going to be a great DPS. If I am bad at the skill shot, I can tab target and still have impact.
But then you're gonna run into issues of people being like, you have to play action combat because it's way better if you can land skill shots
and just get good.
Yeah, and just get good. And if you can't get good, you can't play that class and join us.
I know you've seen this before, Fane. It's the same thing with Overwatch, right? Like it's just click their forehead. Like just be better at the game. Like how many times has it been like just be better, right? And I understand that's not obviously a fair comparison to Ashes, but skill shot is skill shot. And what it comes down to is somebody who is good at the game will always tell somebody who is not good at the game, get good.
That's the answer to your whole thing right there. That's the thing that all of you are missing. It doesn't matter where you draw the line as far as the whole idea of telling people this is the way the game has to be played, so you have to play it that way or you're good. It doesn't matter. That line is going to be drawn somewhere, and then everybody below that line is going to be getting told by everybody above that line that you're not good if you're below it. So as far as increasing the skill gap because of the mixed hybrid tab, like that part of the argument to me doesn't make a lot of sense. Just in general, for me, the entire concept, like, okay, so maybe you guys know this, maybe you don't. I have a video on my YouTube channel that is still the most watched video on my YouTube channel. It was the 6th one I ever put out. The 6th video I ever made on YouTube got over 5,000 views. It has over 400 reactions, that being the thumbs up, thumbs down. It has like 350 comments. The problem is that those reactions are like 3-to-1 down votes to up votes. So it was overwhelmingly disliked. And the whole point of the video was that the biggest flaw I see in this game is the attempt to appeal to everyone. They're blending hybrid versus tab. I mean, they're blending action versus tab. They're blending open world with theme park. They're all this stuff. They're having PvP be a focus of the game, but we're also going to have raiding and like all of these things. And now I got just destroyed in the comment section. Everybody just quoted over and over again Steven saying that this game won't be for everyone, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm like, he can say that, but what they're doing, and actions speak louder than words, tells me they are trying to appeal to everyone. And in my life, I have discovered that when you try to appeal to everyone, you end up appealing to no one.
Well, and in your defense in that, Steven's comment, again, just the way that I mean, my interpretation of this here, Steven's comment about this game won't be for everybody is more in line with it being open world PvP, it being in line with that it's not going to be just log in, do your dailies, and you're done. Like, it's going to take work, it's going to take effort, you're going to get ganked, you're going to deal with bullshit. Like, that, to me, that's what he's referring to when he says that this game is not for everybody. He's not saying this game isn't going to be for everyone because it's going to be PvP focused or because it's going to be PvE focused. He's saying it just based on the aspect of it being an MMORPG and going back to the roots of MMORPGs rather than what we see today with WoW.
Well, what I'm boiling it kind of down to is he has said it's not going to be for everyone, but he's trying to appeal to a lot of different types or styles in certain areas. So like this is tentatively a hardcore sandbox MMO. Like EVE Online is just a straight hardcore sandbox, right? That is definitely not for everyone. He is trying to add in things that will increase the longevity of the game and make it a little bigger, appeal a little more to casuals. And that's where he's taking the stance. That's like why he's doing the freehold stuff. He's trying to put a niche or a place in the game for people who aren't going to take this as like a hardcore job, right? They're not going to be playing 40 plus hours a week. He's trying to put a place in the game for the person who logs in like 10 hours a week. And I think that's the idea there that he's taking with the combat system. Oh, well, they can mess around, play whatever style they want, and it'll be fun. I am kind of taking the stance that that's going to turn some of them off because it's going to be too much. For those types of players, they just want to come in, follow guide, play here and there, grind out some stuff, go harvest some stuff, and adding in all these complexities of switching back and forth and adding that kind of complexity into the game. As I said, it's no longer easy to learn and hard to master. It's hard to learn and hard to master. And that's kind of the way I'm taking it. It's like,
it doesn't give us enough direction. It doesn't allow me, like, when I log into New World, I know I need to get good with action combat. Like, and it's one of the main reasons why I am playing New World. Like, legitimately, it is I don't have a lot of action combat under my belt when it comes to gaming. And so I'm using New World to help develop that skill.
Right.
And so I know that going into it, that's what I'm going to do. The same thing like with WoW, I know going into it, I'm there for the raiding. I'm there for the tab target combat, the raiding, the shit crafting system, the done over redone lore. Like, you know what you're getting into with games. With Ashes, and again, we're in development, right? So maybe we just shouldn't even know yet, but it almost seems like I won't have a particular direction in which I am going because too much is trying to be done. And I hate making this comparison. It legitimately pains me, but it's the fuck, what's a spaceship game that's never going to come out?
Yeah, Star
Star
Citizen.
Citizen.
Star Citizen. It's the Star Citizen idea where they keep trying to do too much,
Mhm.
and I mean, and people have said it, like, and I try to justify and say, like, no, it's not going to be the next Star Citizen. Like, they've shown a lot of progress because they have, like, they have put a lot out, especially as quickly as they have. But there is so much that they're trying to do and so many people. And we have seen this from Steven when it comes to the content creator program and the boot camp and not wanting to tell people no. And him being open about that. Like,
Mhm.
I understand he's got a good heart. He's a good dude. He wants to
Uh-huh.
make, but at the same time, a decision has to be made.
Yep.
At a certain point, the dictator side of Steven's got to come out. He's got to put his foot down. He's got to say, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to do this. Or they need somebody there to do that. Like, no, this is too much. We're doing too much. We just need to do this. Let's do this. Let's focus on this, and let's make this the best fucking thing, the
Yeah.
best version that this has ever been.
Yeah,
And
I mean, you don't want to be the Cheesecake Factory, right?
Yeah.
I always bring this fucking example up, and I know you guys,
100%.
but like,
100%.
Oh my
there's no
God.
reason that we're eating spaghetti and tacos and pizza and a burger and a salad all next to each other. Like, there's just no reason for that. Do one thing and do it well.
Mhm.
And you don't want to be like the other side of that is WildStar. You don't want to be WildStar where it's like so hardcore that you're alienating 99% of the population. But I think the only thing worse than I'm not good enough to play this game is I'm paying $15 a month. I log in and I can only really access 8% of the game, 12% of the
Mhm.
game, 20% of the game. Because now I not only have to deal with the fact that like I'm only good at this little point, but I can see everybody else doing the stuff that I want to do. Right? It would be like going out to you're single, you're in college, you go out to a bar with your friends, and they're all hitting on girls, and they're all having a lot of success with girls and having fun, and you're just standing in the corner holding your little beer, drinking it. Like,
Get
that's
good.
not going to be
Get
fun.
good, Faye.
You just got to get good. You got to get good, guys.
Just
Get
hit the
good.
forehead.
Get some game. Get some
But
game.
but you know what I'm saying, right? Like, it's just it's a difference. There's you you would be better off in that situation sitting at home and just being like, I'm not, at least it's not being shoved in my face that I'm not good enough at the rest of this stuff. At least it's not being constantly rammed down my throat.
So,
And just real quick,
yeah, go ahead.
Before we go anywhere else, I just want to like let everyone know this is just a discussion we're having because we're so passionate about this game. We want to we're not being negative on the game. We want to bring up any potential issue here and talk about it as an open discussion about what we think about the possibilities. Hey, maybe they're going to nail this hybrid combat system and this entire talk was dumb and stupid. I just want to set the scene here before.
And
so it's not like we're trying
if they did.
Yeah, we're not
make us eat our words. We talked about it last week. I was thrilled when Steven introduced the combat thing and made me eat my words on it. I'm like, thank you. Like, absolutely. Like, I mean, echo that 100%. That's absolutely why we are talking about
I just want to set the stage there because sometimes it comes across as we're being negative, especially like we are just so passionate and want to bring up every single subject, and it's very easy to fall into the things, well, this could be a problem, this could not be. So I apologize for interrupting, but go ahead. Super.
Listen, we don't have content, so we're going to talk about this shit. All right, we're theory crafting.
Yeah, you got to talk about what we can talk about.
Oh, sorry. So
Let's boycott Super.
Sorry, my brain just totally farted. Go, somebody else go. Sorry.
Honestly, I will say this, chat. Let me tell you something. There are moments where we go a little bit quiet and we read what the fuck you guys are saying, and I literally will watch all of us laugh. Like, and you can tell. I'm just like, I read it and I laugh. Oh, Bard just laughed. A couple seconds later, Xillin just laughed. Oh, I just saw Super laugh. Like, we cannot read chat while we're in the middle of a point because you guys get us so.
Well, here's the thing. There'll be times I'm in the middle of a point and I'm not reading chat because I'm doing my point. I'm talking and I see like that chain reaction of people laughing. I'm like, are they laughing at me? And then I finish my point. I look at chat. I'm like, oh. Yep.
You're just like, oh, reluctant Raven just showed up, so just bullshit like that.
I'm super happy to see you guys again. I finally got done with all my assignments. That's what destroyed my brain a couple minutes ago.
Yeah. I didn't even see that. Who the hell said
that? Was Dante. That was a good one.
I love you. Thanks, Dante.
But he didn't include me, so I'm mad.
You need to learn how things work around here. Okay, we don't read free puns out. We make people pay for puns. Stop reading that.
Okay, I have to say something. This is amazing. I figured out the best part of Xillin's chat. I got Xillin to read 2 puns without paying for it. It's my favorite game. So I'm going to tell you this strategy. We're going to go off on a little tangent here. I got Xillin to read a pun because he trusts me, like to say a pun out loud on chat because he trusts me. Then I said, now I have to wait 3 to 4 weeks to drop the next one on him, right? Then, within 10 minutes, I dropped another one on him because the meta is to tell him, okay, I'm done. I can't do it again. Hands up. Hands up. Sorry, police. And then you just fucking book it. So if you haven't watched Cops circa 1997, you don't know how to get over on Xillin.
You'd think he'd know better because he was. I mean, that was like the prime of his life right there, 97.
Honestly,
97.
I feel a little bit bad because I've built trust and love with Xillin, and I ruined it in like one Twitch stream. I destroyed it all. Xillin doesn't trust me at all now.
All right, so
you got me with the golf conversation. Like you were talking about, you got me. That's what really got me was we were talking golf, and then you just like went on and even in the context of it, I didn't even understand that I was reading a pun until like 5 seconds later, and then it hit me, and I was just like,
"Well, because I was actually following that golf tournament. I was actually following that golf tournament, right?
Yeah.
And then I literally, this is my thought process. I'm following the golf tournament. I know you like golf, and so I Googled on another tab golf puns. And I was just like, "Did you think this guy's leading?" But it's weird. He brought 2 pairs of pants and he made his caddy carry one. And you're like, what? Why? And I was like, in case he gets a hole in one. I was very proud of that moment.
Oh, the puns are as bad.
The puns are so strong.
So before we got there and before my brain completely shut down. Thanks to Dante.
Thanks, Dante.
Yeah. What were we talking about?
Okay, so I like we're at a segue here. I'm just gonna move on the conversation here. And this alpha, I mean, throughout the alpha, it's supposed to be mostly technical, right? They've said alpha 1 is mostly technical, but they also want to introduce 2 more, archetypes before they move on to Alpha 2. So we're going to have to see some new content for Alpha 2. So we have several months of kind of downtime without spot testing, where they're doing it mostly internally. What do you guys think the next step is? What should they be focusing on in terms of core systems for us to spot test in about 2 months?
So I'm going to throw something out here. And this is a hard take, guys. And I love Ashes of Creation. Oh my God, I took a hard take and Xillin instantly left the stream. That's fucking amazing. I love this. Okay, hard take. Oh, Xillin's back. He had to get more Crown and Cranberry. Sorry, guys. So here's my hard take. I think having, even on a very base level, the caravan system in the game was such a poor choice. Because there's not even enough materials to interact with that system. I don't know anyone that interacted with that system on a real level. I think there were so many other systems. So I think what they need to do is slowly build. And this, I would tell Intrepid, slow down. Put systems in that we're going to interact with and go from there. Guild Wars was in on some level. You can create Guild Wars on some level. Allow us to fight each other. put a basic Guild Wars system with the rewards and the trees and the tiers that you get from that. I think something like that would drive players so much more. Like, hey, Axiom and Virtue said they're going to fight each other on the Resna server tonight at 6 p.m. on this beach. Let's all show up for the Guild War and see what the thing is. I think something like that would be so much more fun than like, here's a house. You have to pay a lot of gold and you can't decorate it. And it doesn't really do anything for you other than give you a random vote.
Or here's an apartment.
Build slowly.
You get a legendary key, but by the way, it's not ready yet.
they're like essentially. Let me summarize. I actually wrote down on my phone. Hold on, guys. What the key said when you got it. It said, "You just spent 2,500 gold. Fuck you." Like that's essentially what it said.
I was not expecting that, but that's you're right.
So excited for it. I was like, maybe they put a little instance thing in here. That's 100% what it said. It was just like, you bought a key, you're now a citizen, you have an apartment. You can't actually do anything with this, so suck it. Like, I was like, cool, I get to vote for DA again for mayor or some shit, whoever the mayor of Winstead happened to be at that time. But I think putting something in, you know what else would have been interesting? Break down the vassal system a little bit. Let us have 3 level 3 nodes in the area and spin the vassals off for 2 lower nodes from each area. I think that would allow things like the Illwind, Moon Hollow, places like that to be explored more, because every server it was Nala or Winstead. Those were your level 3 nodes. And Leon wasn't touched, Drythorn wasn't touched, you know.
So it's interesting. My initial just like gut reaction on what I think they should focus on was the node system. And now hearing you talk, what I think they should do if they want to keep us engaged for Alpha 2 moving forward, a persistent test nonstop, I think they need to, and I don't know how to do this, but make, as you said, Guild Wars a thing. So this battle between nodes, give us things that we can fight over with each other and, like get mad at each other. Maybe, maybe part of that is we have to set taxes really hot. Like maybe make it so like you put in the alliance system. So 3 guilds can control the major node. If you're in that guild, you don't pay the sales tax. Everyone else, if they want to buy new gear, use the crafting stations, are paying like a 25% sales tax. So suddenly you're like, if I'm not in this 3 guild alliance, well, now we're going to siege this shit down and raise up our own over here. Give us give us that soft and hard conflict Steven keeps talking about in the alpha. And I know this is a technical alpha. I just say moving forward, if you want to keep the hype of the game going, right? Once we get into alpha 2, if you want people to like be engaged in the game as you start introducing new content and all that, I think that's the way to go.
Put Guild Wars in, have some more guild buffs, because you can put these passives in. And literally, if you win the guild war, which would be first guild to murk 100 of the other guild in open world, gets a huge experience bonus that's going to allow you to get more guild passives. Start putting more of those in, even if they're placeholder. I also think that, and I haven't said this on stream yet, and I'm going to put it out there. I've tweeted it, Xillin. That tweet is when you use Twitter and you put it out. Okay,
I learned that earlier.
Yeah, okay. I know I don't want to get at too much over your head, so I'm just going to keep you up on this. So turning PvP off for the vast majority of this test was a huge mistake.
I agree.
An absolutely massive mistake. It was just massive. It was I can't even tell you how bad it was. So I would have organized. I'll say this, and then sorry, Super, I'll let you go. I definitely would have organized if PvP was on a consistent place. I would have organized an Axiom PvP tournament.
Yes.
And we would have given away. We have a Designed by Humans shirt where you can get a cool shirt like this, Designed by Humans / Axiom Community. Why
are you telling anyone? Like everyone in Axiom already knows, and no one else cares.
That's also true.
You might have just said Raid Shadow Legends. Come on,
guys. Raid Shadow Legends, unlock character Fane, lawsuit incoming. But I would have 100% paid for and given away a shirt or a mouse pad or a mug or any of the items that we have in there to whoever won that tournament. Allow us to create content within your world. That would have been 100% my thing.
Yeah, and I mean, we all understand, right? This is all talking once again from a spot of saying, this is what we'd like to see. We understand this is an early alpha. We don't expect it, but moving forward, if you give us these opportunities for soft and hard friction and opportunities to create content, it's going to keep the hype, not necessarily the hype train, but like the community involved in doing things and enjoying the game.
Mm-hmm.
The people who have put their money where their mouth is and are involved with the game, involved with the testing, doing this stuff, it will help keep that community interested, wanting to test. Because I'm not going to lie, I didn't want to test for the majority of this month. Like and granted, I mean, I've been testing for a little bit now, and so I think I just kind of naturally hit my point, regardless of how much content was there or not. But I mean, I was just kind of like, you know what? Nobody's doing anything revolutionary. The most exciting thing that any group was doing at any one time was going to fight the fire dragon. Like, outside of that, it was just,
it was nothing.
Okay.
So I played a game, and I reference this a lot, of this old 2D game where there was open world PvP, and it was an old school game. I actually believe it is the oldest MMORPG on American servers.
Hold on. Grumpy, what game is he talking about? Hold on, give him
Grumpy,
a second.
What game am I talking about? Let's see if we can figure it out.
Give him a second.
So I won't say this game, but this game, the GMs, so the game has put in 4 events per year. There would be 4 events every single year that were like events, and you had a legend, and if you completed the event, you would get marks on your legend. Tibia, of course, not Tibia.
Was it? Oh, I thought you were. I thought you were talking
Tibia.
About it.
so they would put 4 events into the game every single year that you would get to play. That being said, there were multiple events every day. And what these were was different player-run subpaths or guilds or clans or whatever it was would create events for you to participate in. So some would be like somebody created paintball, essentially. There were arrows that you would be able to shoot, and if you hit someone else with the arrow, they would be marked red and they were out. And on honor, they would leave this specific area, and slowly the area would get smaller and smaller and smaller. And so people created their own games. If you give us the tool to create games like that, it would be a lot of fun. Like creating races. Like we could have created a mount race from here to here to here, and there has to be a person there to check in that they got the mount race. That would have been a ton of fun. I would have been all about that. You could have shoutcasted that. It would have been great. A PvP duel thing where it was like, this is our tank. We're going to go do a tank duel, because I think that would have been the most fun. One tank versus another tank in a bracket format. You got 32 tanks together, and they work their way down, and you have to register by noon on day 2. And however far you got in that first 24 hours, that's the tank you were bringing to the party, whether that was level 3 or level 10. Things like that are really important in games. And I think we'll see that in Ashes, but we didn't see it in the alpha. And I think that losing the hype was a big part of that. Not having PvP open, not having these abilities this early on to create our own content.
Yeah.
Well, and
to some degree,
going back to sorry, I'm going to jump in here just because I want to get back to.
Yeah.
So
how dare you?
The original question was, what do we need to see? Like what you were asking,
what should they be working on?
Yeah, what do we need to see in Alpha 2? Correct. Like, so for me, I think we need to see all classes at some basic level, with the exception of Bard and the Summoner. The one or both of those only comes later in Alpha 2. But those in my head, the moment one of those gets introduced, everything has to go back and get reworked on. And then when the other one comes in, everything has to go back and get reworked on again. Whichever one comes first, in my head, doesn't really matter. So we need to see all the classes minus those 2 at some basic level. We need to see the node systems at least progress up to the max level, even if the max level doesn't have all of the additional stuff that comes with it. But we need to see that linear progression of the nodes. The vassal system needs to work appropriately, locking out X number of nodes accordingly. I think we need a bigger map, honestly. I think they need to maybe limit the number of servers down and get more people on a bigger map.
Yep.
I don't, whether that be the half of the continent that we're going to be testing in beta, or maybe half of that or something like that. But what we have right now, I feel like is not enough for all of these systems to be able to be tested out into their fullest potential. Um, I think I mean, combat needs to be worked out. It just honestly, like, I feel like the feedback that they've gotten thus far, I don't know if it's enough to get them in a good direction. I hope it is, because honestly, if Alpha 2 doesn't come around for another 6 months, I mean, I mentioned it like maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, I think was the first time I mentioned it. They need to get combat figured out. We need to know what direction they're going in, because that can't be something that just ebbs and flows and wanes and is just all over the place. So I think we need to have a good idea of what combat is going to be.
Mhm.
We need to see the crafting, like the actual baseline crafting system, not this placeholder thing that they have right now. We need to see what it's actually going to be looking like. Because if, and the main reason why I am listing all of these content specific things is because we need to be able to give feedback on that, on how to tune it and make it better for beta 2, when a lot more people come in, and then you start getting into the detail, you start getting into the late game side of stuff, and then or beta 1 rather, and then beta 2 same thing. Like, we need to have it at a certain point in my head, not a developer, just a tester, but in my head we need to have everything at just a solid base level point that we then can give feedback off of and say, hey, moving forward from here, like we've been able to do with some of the stuff. But so I think, honestly, I think a lot of the game needs to be there in Alpha 2 at a base level.
Yeah. Well,
we need to see a lot more to the game.
Well, and I think the big thing is, if you're going to persistent servers, you need stuff to keep the community engaged, right? If you don't, if we have the fall off that we saw in the month long, which we all understand why that happened, and it's fine. I don't think it's a huge deal. But moving forward, if you're going into an Alpha 2 with a lot more players, you want to keep them involved. Otherwise, they're going to do what some content creators did, was like play for the first week and then write off the game and not come back until launch, which is fine if that's how people want to do it. But the idea is, we're giving the feedback, we're helping shape this game. And so if we don't have involved players, we're not going to be able to have, a good enough pool to pull from to help shape the game and help test a lot of these systems in the right way. Because I definitely think that was an issue. I couldn't play for like a week during the month long due to a bunch of real life work stuff. And when I came back, I logged on Lineth. I literally like streamed and played for 4 hours and didn't see a single person. And then I was talking to some streamers later, and they're like, yeah, we all moved over to Resna. Everyone's on Resna now. And I was like, oh, well, now I'm, well behind everyone. I started leveling a character on Resna. And then I was like, you know what? Like, I just, I had a lot of
I've already done this 10 times in the last.
Well, I've already done this. Also, also, I have a lot of real life stuff going on. Like, how do I want to spend my time? It's not leveling a character so I can create content, right? And I think that's the biggest thing. You need people to do content and have fun with it. Like, I need to get a character to level 12 and get some gear to even participate in some of these sieges. Like, that's,
I want to shout this comment out, because I think it literally speaks to directly what we need when it comes to testing, and it just struck a chord with me. King Headshot said, we need the primary colors. We need the primaries to start making some colors. We need our baseline to be able to start getting all this stuff to interact. Like, that is 100% speaks to the absolute essence of what we need in Alpha 2. And to go a little bit further on what I was saying, and kind of give some pushback on myself, but then also put some pressure on Intrepid here, is we need you guys, Intrepid, to come out, because right now what the wiki is basing what Alpha 1, Alpha 2, Beta 1, Beta 2 is supposed to be, and the content that's supposed to be there and testable, is literally a year or more old information.
No, a lot of it's like 4-year-olds from 2017 and 18.
Yeah, a lot of it was from those early, Steven was wearing sandals live streams in the front office.
So
that is also,
they need to come out and they need to give us a roadmap. I'm not saying they need to give us a timeline. They need to say, this is what we intend. We want Naval in, Alpha 1 or Alpha 2.1, and then in Alpha 2. 3 we want whatever node type or something like that. Like, give us a general outline of what you're looking for. Because if you're willing, listen, here's my biggest thing. For anybody who says that no, we don't need that because then if they don't deliver on it, we're going to get pissed. Guess what? They've already done it with dates, and in my opinion, it's worse to do it with dates than with potential content. So if they're willing to do it with dates, shut the fuck up. You need to be willing to do it with the content and what we're going to be seeing for testing. Like, let us know what your plan is. I mean, what have I been saying literally like every week for the past month and a half to 2 months? Give us direction, communicate, and tell us what you want from us, and tell us what you're doing. You talk like we talk about open development, and we're all on board for open development, the good, the bad, and the ugly that comes along with it, and we've seen all of it already.
Well, it's a double-edged sword.
And just give us what you are wanting to, what your short goals are. Just let us know.
Well, it's a double-edged sword, and I made this point in one of my videos that was comparing Ashes to New World, where previously I'd complained about the communication with Ashes, but then I was like, their communication is better than New World's communication.
Their communication is better than any MMO or any video game.
But we still want more, right? So once again, this goes back to that fact. As much as I'm criticizing, you're still doing a good job at what you're doing. Overall, it's better than most. It's kind of like give a mouse a cookie, right? We get a little communication. Well, now we want to know everything. And there's definitely that aspect. I just hope that with the amount of testing we've had and the constant communication we've had, that moving forward into this downtime, we still get some communication, some, Steven hopping on and doing things, do an AMA in the middle of the month. Like, I hope it's literally just not like, yeah, we're working on stuff. That's it through the next 2 months. And all we get is the dev streams. I hope there's some kind of engagement for the community.
I'm making a video right now that's kind of like a review of Alpha 1 and how that's supposed to go, and hopefully it comes out tomorrow. But one of the things that I say in that, because I talk a little bit about where we go from here or what's next or whatever, and I honestly don't care if they don't say a one word to us. They could skip the live stream update at the end of this month. I don't care. If they went into their offices and they had the artists, okay, artists, go do art things. Everybody else, we're having a meeting every day, and it's combat, all combat, and nothing but fucking combat. Like combat.
Fuck the artists. You go play in your corner with your blocks.
Go make pretty things. That's fine. I don't care. Everybody who does design, get your ass in here, and we're gonna make the combat right.
Well, here's my issue with this.
And then after 2 months, they want to come out and say, okay, now we've reworked the combat. We have a final version. This is what the combat is going to look like. You guys come in and test it and tell us what you think, and then we get to finally play. I'll be fine with that.
And here's my thought: Xillin is wrong. So here's my issue with what you're saying. We need to even get the baseline of the combat. In my opinion, we need at the very least the weapon passives. We need a bunch more archetypes, and we need. When I say classes, I mean we actually need classes. We need to get beyond Alpha 1. We need to get into Alpha 2, where we have actual classes like cross archetypes to even figure out exactly where this combat system is going to end up. I think it's going to be a balance of getting into Alpha 2, and that's kind of why I'm like, go action or go tab and just choose that. But it really is going to be this weird mix in the middle, because I don't think you can flesh combat out without at least a majority of that already known.
I think that the weapon passives, you're correct, but the rest of the archetypes, no. They can figure out what combat is going to look like, how it's going to control, how it's going to move, all of those things, as long as they are going to need the weapon passives, because that's obviously very integral.
I mean, even just looking at it from what they've currently iterated upon as of right now, is we have a very basic tab targeting system that even the monster AI is using, and Steven has addressed that, saying that that they're going to have the monsters be using different stuff. It was just a basic thing to throw in there. But even within action combat, what we have seen is a root system and a non-root system. To me, though I'm glad that they're willing to approach it and address it, in the grand scheme of things, that tells me that they don't have a particular direction in which they are moving with combat yet.
Yep.
Now, take it or leave it. That's the impression, because there's nothing kind of set in stone. Now, Alpha 1, totally legitimate time to be ironing that out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Alpha 2,
well,
to Xillin's point, I think we need to see a baseline. And even if it's a baseline without passives, a baseline with passives, and then a baseline with the archetypes.
Well, this goes back.
We need to see a direction.
We need the building blocks,
Well, this
right
goes
now
back
we're
to
split.
trying to please everyone, right? They made a decision that they were going to go with the action or the locking combat. I don't think the locking combat was an issue. I think the issue was the locking combat didn't feel rewarding. So you got locked into combat and you did a very basic auto attack. It didn't do much damage. It didn't really matter. And that's why it felt bad. If you get locked into the combat and you're hitting for a good amount of damage, and the attacks feel impactful, and this is another video I'm working on, but it's a combat, like, how do you make combat feel impactful? And part of it is the acceleration and feel of the end of this. Like, throughout the whole thing, everything right now just feels the same. You start a swing, you end a swing. It's all the same speed. There's none of this like winding up and then like landing an attack, and there's that thud and that stop. Like, that's the issue with it not feeling good. It's not necessarily the animation locking. It's just this very floaty feel while being animation locking that doesn't feel good. So if they can fix the animation so it feels, a little better, and then like, as I said, I want to see actually a combo system where you have a light and a heavy attack. A heavy attack will make you step forward and lock in, and you'll do a bunch more damage or apply bleed or do something like that. So it's like this, step forward, you really wind up a hit, and then when wind up an attack, and then when you hit, you feel like you did extra damage and it mattered, but you were animation locked. And then there's the floaty, just like jumping around, just boom, 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 I'm stabbing. Like, that's what I would like to see ultimately, and I don't know if that's the direction they're going with it, but I think it's interesting to look at it and look at what people didn't like about it, and I don't think necessarily it was the animation locking, it was the risk to reward. It was like, none of my abilities animation lock me, and they do a lot more damage, but to auto attack,
yes.
But yeah, so that's the thing to me, is I think there's more to it, and we've talked about it, how it's always a feel thing. We've talked about combat a bunch, and we've always been like, I don't really know what makes a good action combat or tab combat or any kind of combat feel good, but I've been thinking about it more and more, and this is kind of what I'm coming to.
Well, no matter what they do, they need to just do it. And I agree with Xillin here. We need to just get in there and do the work. Xillin and
Super, direction.
I refuse to say that I agree with Super, because he and I don't agree on too much, but just love you, Super.
Xillin and I agree a lot, so just say you agree with Xillin, and then you don't have to worry about it.
Even when Xillin's not on the show, that's gonna be my new thing. I agree with Xillin, and everyone will know that means I agree with Super. But we need to get I would be perfectly fine if we didn't see any more base archetypes until Alpha 2, and we just got the combat, because once you have the combat locked, you can then say, I'm going to make these other classes fit this combat style so that they also feel good within this combat style. I think that's a totally reasonable way to go about it, because combat needs to feel good. And we've talked about this before. We've talked about this ad nauseum. If combat doesn't feel good, the rest of the game will not feel good.
People will leave. I have so many people commenting on my YouTube videos saying it's all about the combat for me. I have to have the combat. If the combat sucks, I'm out. And what's interesting is I have a bunch of people that say if they go action, I'm out, and I have a bunch of people saying if they go tab, I'm out, which makes me understand why they're trying to blend the two. But either way, I want them to pick a direction. And even if the direction is a hybrid, then fine, but they need to solidify it and make it into something that feels good. And then we can go from there.
And I guarantee you 90% of those people that are saying, if they do this, I'm out, are just bullshit. Like, If they go the other way and the game comes out and it's good and they see all their friends playing it, they're still gonna fucking play it. Like, you may say something, but they don't mean that. I guarantee you, very few people are that polarized.
Like we see it with WoW. I mean, not more recently, but like people played WoW for years and years and years, and they had a good basic, just good tab targeting system. And even people who loved action, if they wanted to play a halfway decent MMO, they played WoW. And I agree 100% with what you're saying, Bart. I think a lot of the people are kind of like, oh, if you go full action, I'm out of here, mister. Or you go full tab, I'm gone. You're never going to get my money. It's like, okay, well, we might not get your money on launch, but if we make a good enough game, your ass is going to be back here.
But plus, how many of those people have already given their money?
Right.
Yeah, you're gonna play it either way. You're how much invested?
Yeah, that's like me saying at this point, with 2 people in the household interested in the game, like just imagine the I mean, granted, it's probably not as much as some individuals, but
it's no truth. Where's truth? Truth still here?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's a decent amount of money. If I were to put a hard stance on something, saying, "Oh, you're not," like, I already believe enough in the game to give them X amount of money that we have already given them. So it's,
Yeah, I think for me personally, it doesn't matter what the combat ends up being, as long as a lot of the other systems that we are here about are what we think they're going to be, like the nodes and the caravans and those things. I don't think I'll care. I'll play even if it's a half-ass combat system.
I keep bringing up EVE Online. Like, the combat in that game is dog shit. That's not why. I still got super into that game. Like, the reason I played it was the political intrigue, everything going on around you. Like, that stuff draws you in more than any. Like, once you get a little taste of like what's going on there, and you see how it all starts affecting things, like any hardcore gamer or any decently engaged gamer is just going to be like, they're gonna like half the fun, like it's like the drama with Asmongold, right? Like that when he was playing the real, he still does it, but playing that reality TV star, but just like kind of like fostering drama and faux drama and all that. Well, there's something like, even if you're a player just on your server sitting back and watching the big guilds go at it and everything unfolding. Like, how many people watch those videos about that EVE Online person who spent years infiltrating the enemy, only to tear them apart from the inside? Like, that stuff is so intriguing, whether you're a part of it or not. Like, but you feel a part of it if it's on your server.
Right. Yeah. No, I agree. That EVE combat is awful. It's melatonin. It's what you use to go to sleep. That's a PSA for everyone in chat. If you're ever having trouble sleeping anytime, it's no big deal. Just go to your computer, fire up EVE, and just get into some combat. And within 5 minutes or so, you will be asleep. So you're welcome for that.
You're welcome. I just use actual melatonin.
Well,
I love that quote that DA just put in there.
Come to a point where shitting on WoW and quitting WoW is more fun than actually playing WoW. Exactly.
Yeah. Which is sad. Which is sad.
Yep.
I will say that I've quit WoW. I'm off the WoW for life. It's done. I also got one of my Overwatch accounts banned. I got one of my Overwatch accounts banned this week. So.
So no, I think the point of that comment though is it's about being part of something, right? About feeling like you're engaged and a part of something, part of a community. So WoW lost that sense of community, right? There is no sense that you are a part of anything when you play the game, but now you feel like you're a part of something when you're shitting on it and leaving the game because everyone else is doing it. So that's the idea, is like, that's what everyone, like every human being, just craves to be a part of something. They want a place in life and all of that stuff. So it's really interesting to see it because, hey, I mean, bad publicity is good publicity. I don't know.
We're kind of seeing the effects of bad publicity.
Well, no, here's the issue. They haven't released anything new you can be a part of. So Overwatch 2 is delayed. They don't have another game. They're a multi-billion-dollar company. And they literally like haven't given us anything in 4 years of like a new game other than World of Warcraft expansions.
Oh yeah, no, they've just been iterating upon and remastering.
It's
Like
like, how do you
they
expect?
haven't done anything new.
And that's why people love being a part of a new game launch. It's you feel like a part of a community of people that have all come together and like figuring things out. Like, and Blizzard, like a bunch of just money grubbers, have not understood their community.
I mean, how much of New World and even Ashes is just people who have been sick and tired of WoW, essentially, and games like it for the last 5 to 10 years, and they're just waiting for something else, and then they see New World, and then they see Ashes and what they're trying to do, and even it just being something new within the space and having a loud enough voice attached to it, whether it be master marketing from Steven or a huge budget from Amazon, like those two things give each of those companies respectively a loud voice, and so
Yeah.
it's allowing them to not be looked at. Those, though Intrepid is a indie studio, they are not looked at as such in my head. And maybe this is me personally and a little bit of bias, but in my head they're on the same level as Amazon Gaming, if not higher. Like, and I wouldn't put both of them on the level of Blizzard, but they're definitely there, like with Riot and with, like, I mean, a lot of these other companies that have a lot of backing with them. And Steven hasn't put a dime into marketing except for maybe PAX expenses like years ago.
Well,
Right.
so
And they're not
also-
going this year, as far as we know. Maybe.
I mean, we'll see. We'll see. If
Yeah,
they're
we'll
going this
see.
year. I will say
damn it,
why.
go.
So Super. The reason that you put them on the same level as Amazon is because neither of them have released a game yet. Okay, ha, got my shot in at Amazon games. I get one shot in at Amazon games every single stream.
And what I want to
agree with
do
you. I agree with you. Sorry, Bart. I'll let you go back. I
No.
just want to say real quick. I think that a lot of these AAA studios, a lot of this, like Riot, and even Blizzard to an extent, ArenaNet, all of these AAA studios, I think that you're seeing a little bit of fear because for an indie developer to come in and say, we don't need your money, but we still raised $3.3 million on a Kickstarter. We still have Asmongold paying attention to our game. I think that they have the press of a much larger studio, because there are some huge studios out there that don't have the press that Ashes does 2 years out from launch, 4 years out from launch, 6 years out from launch. And so I think that it's the new kid on the block, but it's really, I think a lot of them are scared. And I think that's why you see Amazon, the greatest company, the biggest company on the face of the earth, has literally said, oh, well, we're just going to go ahead and kind of steal the node system from Ashes because that seems like a really smart idea.
Then not
So
do
I think
it.
that's why
and then not do it.
Yeah.
and then not do it.
And the one point I wanted to bring up before we end the show, do our outros, and then go into post show was something that Rumpy actually brought up, which was they turned
Bringed up. Look at that.
bring
that
up.
college education in effect.
I'm
right
real
there.
educated. He said they turned WoW into a lobby game, which I agree with. They did do that. Like you didn't, like, it's not an RPG anymore, right? You've got a bunch of mini games within the game itself. Whether you're raiding, whether you're doing battlegrounds, whether you're doing arenas, whatever it was, the world itself stopped feeling like a world. You were just like going from one mini game to the next. And that's fine. But there are plenty of lobby games that also built huge communities off of itself. Like when you're going back to what we were talking about earlier with StarCraft and Warcraft custom games. Like I was a huge part of the old school Dota All-Stars. Like I used to play Dota All-Stars, the Warcraft 3 mod created by Ice Frog. I used to play that like competitively, Cyber Athletic League, when I was in high school. And there's a whole community surrounding that lobby game. But the issue is they lost that feel as well. They're like, people just didn't like, there's no reason to care about any of it. And if you're going to do that with a game, don't do it with your RPG. Like you should have brought that up and made, branched it off and made the PvP its own thing. Like whatever you're doing, you need to make the world feel coercive. Like it needs to feel like a big mashup of everything going on if you're going to be an RPG. Or be a lobby game. Like WoW just lost their feel.
Yeah, I mean, when you create a product and you do not iterate upon that product, for your life cycle, it becomes an issue, and people look elsewhere. Everybody loves Tesla. I remember seeing a video of this guy who got pulled over in an early model Tesla because the police officer thought he had a laptop glued to his dashboard. And he's like, "You can't have a laptop." Oh shit. Right? So part of that, why that company has succeeded, is because they're, the hype and the eco-friendliness and the electricity and all that. But part of the reason is because they've done things that other companies haven't done. So if you're not moving forward, you're dying. And it's true. And Bard, you know this. Anybody who's ever been in and I always bring it back to this, the restaurant industry knows this. If you're doing the same shit that you were doing 30 years ago, you're not getting new people in. People look at you and they say you're old fashioned. You're not doing the cool stuff anymore. You're not moving forward. And if you're not moving forward, it's really bad. And so when you see these, so I hope, and here's my hope for Ashes, I hope they continue to move forward, because you look at a game like WoW and it just has decided to be like, it's still 2004 and we're still the hot shit. So we can do whatever the fuck we feel like and abuse our player base.
Except the thing is, if they're still doing what they did in 2004, they might still be successful.
Also true.
2004, that was like TVC, right? Like it still felt like an immersive world.
It was the 2004 to 2010 time frame where it was like, oh, they realized they could kind of get away with anything because they have this dedicated player base, and then they started taking advantage of it. So it's just this vicious cycle, and what it requires is enough of a moral stance from the development team to say, we're not going to take advantage of our players and we're going to continue to produce a good product for them. But dollar signs get in the way of that. And though, as somebody, and that's where the competition comes in. The competition helps keep people honest.
Yeah.
I mean, look at I mean, you talk about the pitfalls and some of the gaps within it, but I mean, just looking at even the Olympics, like that type of competition breeds excellence, and it gets people to say, I need to perform at a certain level if I want to achieve this and get to this level and stay there.
Yeah, 100%.
So yeah.
Well, so super. I'll bring up a point, and this is a.
And you agree with Xillin.
And I agree with Xillin, by the way, on this, guys. I agree with Xillin on this. But so I'll bring up an anecdotal point. A good family friend, a friend of my mother's, was a board member, one of the 7 board members on the board of Hollywood Video. Netflix came into Hollywood Video and said, we would like to offer our service as part of your overall offerings. And they were laughed out of the room. Yep. Nobody's going to have DVDs sent to their home. Who's fucking laughing now? Right? And even if I want a DVD, I could go to a Redbox. I don't need an entire store and footprint for this. I need a kiosk. I need a kiosk the size of something that'll sell me a bottle of Coke. Yep. Right? So that's the thing. If you're not evolving, if you're not moving forward, you're dying. It's just that simple. And it's true now in this age of technology more than ever, because I can go on Steam right now and there's hundreds of thousands of games that I could get on Steam. What makes 13 yours every different? Day? Yeah, it's insane. It's insane. So if you're,
and I still want to play none of them.
I still want to play none of them. and that's the issue. What makes Among Us is a lot of fun. Valheim. Look at a recent game like Valheim. It struck a chord with a good percentage of the people out there that said, wow, this is a lot of fun for a point of time. Right? What makes yours different? What makes yours stand out? And what makes yours really grip and have a close bond with the audience?
Well, and I mean, I know we're kind of closing down here. We're going over, but I think
we're not at the 2-hour mark yet.
With the 2 that you brought up, there's a lot of potential for player-driven content. I mean, you look at a game like Among Us. It's a very simple game. It's Secret Hitler. It's all of those. Mafia, the game is nothing new and innovative, but they put it in a computer game. They gave us funny little characters with funky murder animations and said, have fun with it, make it what you want. And then you had people like Disguised Toast and Saikuno and fucking deep voice guy's name? Shit.
Corpse. Ray.
Corpse Husband. Yeah. Corpse Husband. Yeah. You have these people come in and they create content around it, and they try to do funky stuff in it. It's like, oh, I'm gonna try to go for the double vent kill, or I'm gonna try to go for like and do this stuff. But that's all the player driven side, right? Like that wasn't necessary. When they made Among Us, they weren't designing it in a way where it was like, hey, let's try to allow them to do this. It's like, no, just make something good enough on a basic level.
Yeah,
and let the community have at it and have fun with it and create and develop content.
But Among Us also sat for 2 years with like 100 downloads.
Fair. That's
So
discovery. That's discovery. That's a discovery.
That's their marketing. That's their marketing budget, right?
Yeah.
But if you make a game where 80% of the content draws in your player, and the last 20% allows the players to create their own unique modes, even if it's just player driven and a rule agreed among the lobby, you will have a successful long-term game. I'll tell you this. So Xillin has been playing Tribes of Midgard. I've been playing that as well. As of this morning, I've literally 100%ed every achievement in that game. I've killed the boss 10 times. I've spent my 1,000,000 souls. I've done all the things. I don't necessarily have a reason to play that game right now until the next season and more cosmetics come out. It's a bad feeling. It felt like, oh man, I don't really have a reason to play this anymore because it's just the same shit over and over again. That's where that game has missed the mark. If they created custom game modes, things like that, it would be a blast.
And I said this earlier, but like the most successful game genre ever, it's made the most money out of any other game genre over its life cycle, is MOBAs. Yeah, it like between Dota 2 and League of Legends, they have made more money than any other game genre. It's insane. Like you can go look it up if you don't believe me.
More than Crucible? More than Amazon's Apex Legends ripoff? More than Crucible? Are you sure?
They haven't made more money than no, they haven't made more money than Amazon put into it.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Well, I was going to bring up Minecraft and how moddable it is.
But if we want to bring this back to Ashes of Creation, I don't think they need to do anything more than what they've said on launch. But I do think moving forward, and I've said this before as well, I think getting some private servers, getting some custom rule sets, allowing that to start evolving and happening so players can kind of get in and create their own content. You know, let the streamers start up their own server with, you know, accelerated EXP rates or whatever and be like, this is a pirate only server. Everyone is like delegated to their 40-man pirate crew and everyone only attacks. Like, there's no friends. If you see someone, you attack them. The only allegiances are your 40-man pirate crew. Like that, like allow that to happen. I think that's
no pixel GTA 5.
Yeah.
I mean, the RP server that they have there, like, though it seems like it's gone downhill recently, like there was a lot of fun content. Like I've never enjoyed watching RP content in my life. But watching certain streamers play on that server was some of the most hilariously entertaining shit I have ever seen. Like to beat out like stand-up comedians, legitimately funny movies. Like some of the shit that was happening there was awesome. And it was purely player driven. 100%.
100%. Yep.
Maybe 99 because they didn't develop the world, but like still it was just
no pixel is an anomaly.
Yeah,
for sure. But once again, you've created Grand Theft Auto 5, which is a fun game to play. It's a fun game to play, guys. If you haven't played it, it's an iconic game. You'll be upset that you didn't play it 5 years from now. But No Pixel being a complete RP server with its own set of rules that are designated and agreed upon by the people that play on that server and consequences for breaking those rules, they have turned that into an amazing... Because I agree with you. I'm not a huge, big like RP person. Like I like it a little bit in MMOs, but not a ton. No Pixel is fun to watch. We had a member of Axiom recently get into No Pixel, and I've been watching his streams, and it is hilarious to watch. It's funny, it's interesting, it's engaging, and it makes me want to tune back in to see what happens.
And I think that's the issue with RP.
That's the thing too, yeah.
I think that's the issue with RP in general, is when you get people not willing to follow the rules or not understanding the rules and not really just like being like, I'm this character, that's it. Like, whatever happens, I have to react to it. It's like 10 Man's very familiar with it of like improv. It's up to you to figure out what's going on, what you're doing. I was gonna say, like, yeah, we should probably end up here. Since we actually went live, not the starting soon screen, we're at 2 hours. So why don't we do our outros? We can continue this conversation another night. I was gonna say I would like to have more guests on instead of every other week. Maybe we start doing pretty much every week unless we don't have a guest, but we'll talk about that. And what we are going to do, as usual, we're going to hop up in my Discord channel for everyone available, anyone that wants to. We'll be in the public Discord channel, just kind of chatting, having a good time. Bring up anything we didn't bring up, anything you viewers want to like ask us or tell us we're wrong about. This is your time and situation to do that. So why don't we go around and do our usual outros, and we'll start with our regulars. So Fane.
Guys, you know my thing. It's Fane.com. Follow me on Twitch, YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter. I have all of those social media platforms. I will also be doing a live story tomorrow explaining what social media platforms are for Xillin. And then we can all, I want you guys to print those out frame by frame, and we'll message that to Xillin and give him a book of what social media is.
We'll give him a PowerPoint slideshow. We know he understands that.
We'll give him a PowerPoint slideshow.
What kind of music are we going to play during that? Maybe elevator. A little. Oh, just the straight elevator. I was thinking,
whatever music is playing during EVE Online combat.
My MySpace has Blink 182. I assumed he'd be into some of that.
I remember. Wait, Xillin,
Smash Mouth.
Time out.
Some Smash Mouth, yeah.
I know we're doing our outros, but
little bare naked.
Xillin, are Bardic, me, and Super in your top 8 on MySpace? Are we in your top 8?
Only Super.
Oh
God
my goodness!
So brutal. That I didn't think I set that up.
You know
so
what?
Good.
You know what's fucked about that is I feel like I'm actually the only one that's not because he said
that. Moving right along, Super.
Super TCG here on Twitch. Pretty easy. Content is basically kind of been on hold recently. Dad stuff has kind of been taken over the life, and we got a lot of big moves we're making IRL. But go ahead and follow me over there as I always do. Please go check out the Two Guys in a Bard YouTube. We'll be getting some more videos up there soon. And
the videos are there.
and make sure you go check out Xillin and all of his great. Where is he? Down here somewhere? Down there. Make sure you go check out Xillin and all of his great content. We appreciate you we appreciate you being on. I mean, I always love bullshitting with you. So it's great having you.
Fun. It's always fun.
And I'll do mine. You're on my channel. If you enjoy the show tonight, drop a follow. My YouTube has been pretty inactive. I've had a lot of real life stuff going on. That is going to change. I've got 2 videos coming up in the next week or 2. The next couple days, probably, actually. I'm assuming I don't have to go back to work, which I don't think I will. But yeah, should have some videos coming up. And then obviously the Two Guys in a Bard. The episodes are all uploaded. I just haven't tagged them and done the clips and all of that. But yeah, Two Guys in a Bard. I don't have the link right now. Does anyone have the link? Maybe.
Super's on top of it.
You get that link, Super. And yeah, but thanks so much.
I was too busy shouting out the bot in your channel.
Oh, okay. Go check out Commander Root. I hear he's awesome. He's in like everyone's channel, I'm pretty sure.
Commander Root, the MVP, the real MVP.
Yeah.
Hold on. Total sidebar. But did you guys see in the Twitch awards, they gave an award for like most hours viewed on Twitch to a bot?
Oh no. Did not see.
Wait, are you saying Emmett Shear isn't the best of all time? We're gonna, guys, if you want Twitch drama, we're gonna talk Twitch drama as soon as we get into Bard's Discord right after the show.
Okay. And there's that. And Xillin, why don't you give us your shout out, where you're found, who you are? if they don't
Yeah,
know.
guys, Xillin right here on Twitch and on YouTube. And I would say if you want to catch the best content, the best stuff that we're doing, it's 7 to 9 Central Standard Time every Friday night. The Voices of Vera show. It is on my Twitch channel, and we got sketch comedy and bits and Ashes of Creation information and interactivity and all that stuff. That's the I would say right now that's the best thing you could do if you wanted to check out what I'm doing. And come see me and Tin Man also. He's on the show with me.
Nice, yeah. And shout out to OnlyFans and 10 Man himself. Awesome, awesome content creatorship. But yeah, no, thanks so much everyone for hanging out.